This is the Nintendo Switch Lite. It came out in the September of 2019, making it nearly a year old already, and yet I just bought it about a week ago. Is the Switch Lite for you? That's a good question, and it's the one we're going to talk about today. Hey, how's it going? I'm Josh from 91 Tech, and today we're talking about the Nintendo Switch Lite. I'm a little bit late to the party, but I think it's a good time to ask the question, is it still worth buying a year later? In this video, I'll be looking at the console itself and how it plays, but odds are you already have a pretty good idea of what a Switch Lite is all about, so we'll start with the answer on whether or not it's worth it. Timestamps will be in the description if you want to skip ahead. In short, shocker, the Switch Lite is absolutely worth buying. But, and there's always a but, only if you're looking for a 100% portable experience. Not if you're okay with a portable experience, but looking for it. If any part of you is thinking, well, you know, playing on a TV would be kind of nice, just pay the extra $100 and get the regular Switch. It'll be worth it for you in the long run, and you'll never have any regrets. And if you're on the fence and maybe only can find the Switch Lite in stock, or thinking, well, you know, it's $100 cheaper, I still recommend going for the regular Switch, whether that means waiting a little bit longer for it to come back in stock, or yeah, paying that extra money. As we approach the holiday season, you can bet the Switch will start to show up more often in retailers, so keep checking around and you'll see one eventually. But that said, if you are desiring that purely portable experience, the Switch Lite is not only a good console to buy, it's the console to buy. So I have a turquoise one here I got from Best Buy for about 260 Canadian dollars before tax, which roughly translates to 200 US, which is the retail price. That's what Nintendo set the price at, so that was completely fair. EB Games was sold out near me, which is just the Canadian GameStop, and a lot of other stores were too, but I would expect an influx of inventory as again we approach the holiday season. Amazon does have them in stock as far as I can tell, at least in my area. I'll stick the best deal I can find on this Switch and the regular Switch in the description below with an Amazon affiliate link, so feel free to use that if you want to buy a Switch and help out the channel. The Lite right now is definitely more common than the regular Switch, which has always been hard to find, but it is now nigh on impossible thanks to the whole world ending or whatever. Why did I buy the Switch Lite? Well, mostly to review, honestly, but also because I thought it would make a lot of sense for my personal situation. Basically, I moved out of my parents' house in January, and so me and my brother have been trading off the family Switch. I like playing Switch, so this is kind of a pain. When I want to play it, he wants to play it, and vice versa. And so I wanted something for myself, but didn't need the normal one. Whatever your case is, it's hard to argue against the Switch Lite being worth it, and so I won't bother. I fully recommend this console, it's great. I have very few gripes with it, except the big thing, it's just not for everyone. Because again, that TV experience is something a lot of people are going to want down the road, so this is definitely a niche console, but if it fits your situation, whew, it's awesome. I wouldn't expect any discounts come Black Friday, as Nintendo doesn't really tend to lower their prices, and if they do, it won't be by much. You know, Skyrim for Switch still costs a full $80 in Canada, a 2011 game ported over in 2017, which means it could be considered at least 3 years old, but in reality is more like 9. And in fact, most big titles from 2017 like Zelda Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey still go for $80. It's ridiculous. So that's like 60 US, you get the idea. You will see prices go down here and there on some titles, and some third-party ones are cheaper right out of the gate pretty much. But keep in mind, while the Switch Lite is relatively cheap at $200, you might end up paying the same amount for like 3 games. Another thing you might need is an SD card if you plan on buying and downloading games online, but luckily those are pretty cheap nowadays. I'd recommend about 128 gigabytes as some games are decently large, and you can find that for like $30 if not less. Also, don't be fooled by the Nintendo SD cards. Any micro SD card will work. And yes, I did buy the Nintendo one because I'll be honest, I thought it looked cool with a little toad on it, okay? Yes, I'm a sucker. Nintendo Online is also a necessary purchase if you want to play online games, and luckily it's pretty darn cheap at only like $20 a year, so that's definitely reasonable. But let's back off just a little bit here and talk about the design and experience that comes with the Nintendo Switch Lite. And that's the fun part, because the Switch Lite's design is really where it shines. Nintendo Switch Lite has a fully plastic body with a matte finish and built-in controls, unlike the regular Switch, which is more like a tablet with Joy-Cons you slide on. The Switch Lite having the controls be a part of the system feels, in my opinion, significantly better. The console doesn't really have the same flex or awkwardness I've always found with the regular Switch. Don't get me wrong, the Switch is great for portable use, but the Switch Lite is, in my opinion, pretty much perfect. I do find the buttons and D-pad a bit mushy, but beyond those minor gripes, it's exactly what I want in a portable system. It's also worth mentioning that we get an actual D-pad here, instead of the 4-button setup on the regular Switch, and wow, I really prefer this. It just feels more natural. The system is also extremely light, at about 277 grams, while the regular Switch is 297 grams. You might be like, hey, that's not much of a difference, but add on the Joy-Cons, and all of a sudden, the Switch is 398 grams. And as a result, the Switch Lite is almost too light, but I really like it, and in long play sessions, it's going to be a lot more comfortable to hold up. The Switch Lite is also slightly smaller than the regular Switch, with a smaller display at 5.5 inches as opposed to 6.2, but the resolution remains the same, which means the pixel density on the Switch Lite is higher and actually looks just a bit crisper than the regular Switch. It's 720p, which isn't fantastic by any means, but still looks pretty great, and is the perfect compromise between quality and battery life. It also has thinner bezels, and so in my eyes, the Lite just looks sleeker. The plastic is also softer and again matte. It just feels nicer to me, and overall the more comfortable system to use portably. In colors, we have some great variety with the Switch Lite, being gray, yellow, turquoise, and coral. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw more color options down the road, and we have seen some special editions that are already considered rare. Pokemon versions of the console tend to go for way too much money. When I first got the console, I was very surprised by how small the box was, and it makes sense once you open it up. All you're getting here is the console and the USB-C charger, and yeah, that's it. I guess that's all you need, but it still feels weird. Battery life on the Switch Lite isn't as good as the current model of the red box Switch, but it is better than the 2017 version. We're looking at about 3 to 7 hours of gaming, and it really depends on what you're playing and other things like what your brightness is. Games like Breath of the Wild are going to drain your battery a lot faster than, say, Animal Crossing or Sonic Mania. While they do put 3 hours as the minimum, I feel like I'm usually getting past that, and I've actually been quite impressed with how it's performed. It also doesn't take long to charge thanks to the USB-C. Playing games on the Switch Lite is a fantastic experience, and I'll be honest, I've been enjoying it a whole lot since I got it. It's weird, but in a sense, being limited to having to use the Switch Portable has been kind of freeing. While I normally would play on my TV, playing portably means I'm playing in different positions than I normally would and moving around more. Want to play in bed? Go ahead. Yeah, sure, I could have done that with the regular Switch, but every time I would opt instead to play on the TV. It's a minor thing, but the lack of choice here is actually kind of nice. Maybe I'm nuts, but I do have the benefit of being able to access a regular Switch when I want to, so that does help. But where the Switch and Switch Lite both excel is the games. Holy moly, there are so many games. What can I say? Nintendo games are Nintendo games. There are so many titles to sink your teeth into, such as Zelda Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Animal Crossing, Luigi's Mansion 3, Splatoon 2, Link's Awakening, Mario Kart 8, Mario Maker 2, Paper Mario, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and I could go on. And all those mentioned are just Nintendo titles. Where the Switch is also really impressive to me is its capability to play third-party AAA console titles. Skyrim, Witcher 3, Assassin's Creed 3, 4, Rogue, Outer Worlds, although that's not really AAA, but LA Noire, Bioshock, Wolfenstein 2, Dark Souls Remastered, and so many more. Sure, a lot of those are older titles ported over to the Switch, Skyrim being the obvious example, given it's fast approaching 10 years old, and so that might not seem so impressive now. But if you had told me even 6 years ago that I would be playing one of my favorite games of all time, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, portably, and not on a laptop, but like actually portably, my mind would have been absolutely blown, and my mind is still kind of blown playing this now. It's not the most graphically impressive game, but it's all in the palm of my hands. It's honestly amazing, and I think the Switch has really spoiled us. At this point, you should have a good idea of what the Switch is all about and whether or not you want one, specifically the Switch Lite in this case. As I said at the beginning, if you're a little on the fence and are thinking it would be nice to have Switch games on your TV, spend that extra $100. Yes, it's more money, but considering nearly all games are $60, is it really so bad? Or maybe like me, you already have a Switch, but share it with someone like your spouse or family, and so you want one all for yourself. That's a perfectly reasonable reason, that's a good way to say it, to get the Switch Lite. And with Nintendo Online, you have cloud saves, so it's pretty easy to switch console to console. Also, I know Animal Crossing only allows one account per console, which is ridiculous. So if you're absolutely desperate to play it yourself, yeah, this is an option. Whatever the reason, if you're looking at the Switch Lite at $200, I'd say it's a steal of a deal. Now, while for the average person, the regular Switch is probably the one I'd recommend going for. If you feel the Switch Lite is for you, do it. But at the same time, for for the millionth time, keep in mind the limitations that are coming with the Lite. Without the TV capabilities, you're really locking yourself into an individual console experience. Sure, local multiplayer is possible, but it's a tiny screen when you have to split it up, and you'll also need to buy extra Joy-Cons to do it, as the controllers on the Lite are attached to the body. Of course, online play is also an option, or having multiple consoles in the same vicinity, so there's that, but if you want something you can play Mario Kart with your friends on in a single console, it's probably not the right choice. If you're thinking about for your kid or for someone young or anybody really who you just want to get them the console and it's not going to be for anyone else, the Switch Lite is definitely a good way to go. And with that, I think I'm pretty much about done here. It's funny because these consoles are so darn popular and yet they never seem to be in stock. Like, I guess that makes sense, but you'd think Nintendo would make more. I mean, I'm sure they're making a ton already, but seriously, these things are too hard to find. Also, again, feel free to pull the trigger when you see the Switch you want in stock. Again, generally there aren't discounts on Switches, and if there are going to be any, it's going to be very minor. So yeah, just buy it whenever you want, really. So what do you think about the Switch Lite? Do any of you have one? Do you think that it's worth the extra $100 to get the regular Switch instead of this one? Or do you agree with me and think it's more about the use case? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm always curious to hear what you guys have to say. If you found this video interesting or helpful, maybe hit that like button and consider subscribing for more content just like this. You can follow me over on Twitter and Instagram at 91_tech if you'd like to for some reason. With that all being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm Josh from 91Tech, and I will see you all next time.